Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Neelam Mataji. Thank you, Gauri Ghosh Mataji. Ian Prabhu, Kamalangi Mataji, Dandavas Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Meena Jetani Mataji, again, Dandavas Pranam. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. And Hare Krishna, Madhav Kumar Prabhu, my dear friend. We missed you last time, but very good to see you.
I heard the SoundCloud audio recording. Very nice, Prabhu.
Yes, it was a little bit of rushing, but I need a blessing of everyone again. So I would like to take the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna, Kamalangi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so without further delay, I would like to do the invocation prayer, and I've decided to do the short invocation prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. So going forward, all these prayers we recite together. That is better because Zoom is not so good for this kind of discussion. So what I've decided today, rather than asking everyone to read just to get the good flow, what we'll do is we will select 4 people today, and then those 4 devotees will read the entire chapter English translation. And then next week, another set of 4 devotees will get a turn. That way, the flow is better. Rather than every two shlokas, you ask someone, they unmute and mute, then that would take some time, if that is okay. So what I'll do is I'll pick 4 devotees, and so I will ask Neelam Mataji to start first 8 verses. So I will share the screen.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Chapter 2. Divinity and Divine Service. Translation.
Ugrasrava
Sutta Goswami, the son of Roma Harshana, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply. Text 2 also, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, 8 verses as I mentioned.
Okay. All right. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Sukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasdev, fearing separation from him, cried out, O my son, indeed only the trees which were observed in the same feeling of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father. Text 3. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Sukha, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasdev, who, out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience. Text 4. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nar Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadev, the author. Text 5. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. Text 6. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Text 7. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Text 8. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Meena Jetani Mataji, another 8 verses, please.
Yes, sure. Text 9. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. 10. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. Text 11. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Text 12. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Text 13. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste division and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Text 14. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Text 15. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, which is karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? Text 16. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva.
Thank you, Mataji. Next, Ian Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Next 8 verses, please.
Yes, text 17. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and therefore, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text 18. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Text 19. As soon as the irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Text 20. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with the devotional service of the Lord, to the Lord, gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material associations. Text 21. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Text 22. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. Text 23. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitive forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness.
Next one as well.
Text 24. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and the fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best, because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth.
Thank you, Prabhu. Meenakshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Text 25, translation. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Text 26. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious and they respect all. Yet, they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Text 27. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. Text 28-29. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. Text 30. In the beginning of the material creation, the absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. Text 31. After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. Text 32. The Lord as super soul pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. Do I read up to?
Yes, Mataji, only two. Yeah, please.
The soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Thus, the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So thank you, everyone. I'm still getting some ideas how we can move forward. Maybe next week, I think we can read section by section rather than full at one go, because that way, we can discuss better. So I'm working on the format still, and I'm still happy to receive some feedback. As I mentioned last week, the main purpose of this Bhagavatam is to get a gist of each chapter, so that we are encouraged to go and read more. Here we are not going to read in depth, because this session is like in 1 hour, and we got we are reading all the verses of the chapter and getting just an overview. But I humbly request all the devotees to, after the class, they can go home and they can read some of the purports, especially the verses most cited by Srila Prabhupada. That way we can get most out of it. So this is to encourage the devotees. So last week, once again, Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. I've seen Gauraharti Mataji, Shashi Mataji, and others, Anuradha Mataji, Alka Mataji, others have joined. Thank you very much. So Gauri Ghosh Mataji, yes, she's there as well. Thank you. So last week, we started Bhagavatam, first chapter. So sages, the summary of the first chapter was very simple, that the sages of Naimisharanya, so after offering an elevated seat to Suta Goswami, then they asked questions, 6 questions. So from them, the lessons that we can learn from the sages, that number 1 was that they were very eager to hear Krishna Katha, very eager. And they stopped the fire sacrifice and they decided to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And they considered this hearing is a sacrifice. That's one thing. And secondly, they have full faith on the holy name of the Lord. Verse 14 describes that how just by uttering the name of the Lord, even at once, unconsciously, can be freed from the cycle of birth and death. So they had faith in the holy name, and they also had full faith in the holy saints, they glorified that association of great devotees purifies quicker than Ganga. Mm. So the essence is simple, and they've asked a wonderful question. They did not ask question that benefits them really, but they asked such a wonderful questions which these questions would benefit whole humankind. Mm. So and now the second chapter we started, and the second chapter is called divinity, divine and divinity. So here Suta Goswami speaks, and he tried to answer some of the questions, if not all of them. So the first thing is that Suta Goswami, he doesn't speak immediately. There is a format that he initially offer respects to his own spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, in verse 2 and verse 3. Just respects to his own spiritual master. And then he offers respects to other spiritual leaders, like he offers respects to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. And that is the verse we always read. So this is the format. First, you offer respects to your seniors, your acharyas, because of them we are here, and without them we can't go anywhere really. So the mercy of Vaishnavas, the mercy of spiritual master, the mercy of Lord and his devotees is really, really important. Only by their mercy we are able to understand the real purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or real purport of any Vedic literature. Our Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has sung this famous song, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. So only people, for those who have an unflinching faith at the lotus feet of their spiritual master, they will understand the real purport of the Vedic literature. So let's read some of these beautiful verses. So verse 2 from the second chapter, this is Suta Vacha. He started speaking. Suta Goswami started speaking. Yam pravrajantam anupetam apeta krutyam dvaipayano virahakatara ajuhava putreti tanmaya taravo abhinedus tam sarva bhuta vrudayam munimanatosmi. So he's offering his obeisances to his own spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami. And in this particular verse, he just mentions that the great quality of Shukadeva Goswami. What kind of person Shukadeva Goswami was? He just after he was born, he did not bother to undergo reformation or rituals that a twice born would undergo. Usually there are rituals like, taking a Brahman initiation, having a sacred thread, and etc. Those are some of the rituals that one would follow in a family of twice born. But here he did not bother to undergo any such kind of reformation. He just left. So because he was fully realized, and in that when he was going to the forest for taking renounced, accepting the renounced order of life, so his father, as they followed him, and he, in separation, he cried out, "Oh my son!" So only the trees were in the same mood, they echoed. So, and here also the author says that he has potency. Shukadeva Goswami has potency to enter in everyone's heart. And that's what he says, Munim Manathosmi, Tam sarvabhuta vrudayam munimanatosmi. He can enter into everyone's heart. And for him, I'm offering my obeisances. So Prabhupada writes one of the important point in this purport is that for a Vaishnava, Vaishnava is a if you're a Vaishnava, you are a Brahman automatically. So he gives example of Haridas Thakur. He was born in a family of Muslim. He did not undergo any reformation ceremonies, but he was considered as a great personality by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So a Vaishnava is a Brahman as well. And he also offers prayers in the next verse also. This also beautiful verse I'll recite. Yahasvanubhavamakila shrutisāramekam adhyatmadīpamatititīrshatam tamoandham samsārinām karunayāha purāna guhyam tam vyāsasūnum upayāmi gurum muninām. So here, Suta Goswami says the great, character and how great Shukadeva Goswami is. So he says that Yaha Svanubhava Makila Shruti Saramekam. So he has assimilated the all the Vedic knowledge, and here is giving the essence of all the scriptures. One of the questions by sages was, what is the essence of all the scriptures? So here it answers in some way that Akila Shruti Saramekam. So he took the essence and he digested, assimilated everything. And what is that? That is Srimad Bhagavatam. He narrated that. That is called Adhyatma Deepam. Adhyatma Deepam means it is a spiritual, transcendental torchlight. We have so much light in the material world, but that doesn't really take us back to spiritual world. So to go to spiritual world, we need spiritual torchlight. That is called Adhyatma Deepam. So transcendental lamp, the Srimad Bhagavatam is called transcendental lamp, which will take us from this material world to the spiritual world. Why did he narrate this? Shukadeva Goswami, why did he narrate this? Samsarinam karunayaha. He was very merciful to this materialistic people who are fully engrossed in sense gratification. Out of compassion on this to these people, he spoke this Purana Guhyam, which is very confidential. And Tam Vyasasunum is the son of Vyasdeva, and Upayami Guru Muninam. So I offer my respectable obeisances unto Shukadeva Goswami, who is Guru of Munis. It's wonderful. Just imagine, when he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, he was only 16-year-old. And yet there were a number of sages in the audience sitting. Narad was there, Vyasdev, his own father, was there, Vishwamitra was there. There are other great sages, and Parshuram was there, Gautama Muni was there. Great personalities were there, but he is only 16-year-old. He was given this elevated seat and they were ready to hear. So that's why he is called Guru Muninam. So he is Guru of great sages also. So that is a greatness of Shukadeva Goswami. See the systematicness. He fully offered respectable obeisances to his own spiritual master, and then he moves to Narayanam Namaskritya. So this is a system we also follow, Mangalacharan, a beautiful system. So materialists are proud of their own education, their own skills, their own talents. But here in spirituality, we always offer respects to our predecessors. Because of them, we are here. Because of them, we are able to learn this. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. So here this particular verse says that before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very means of conquest, I just wanted to discuss that point. Srimad Bhagavatam is very means of conquest. Okay. Before reciting that, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality. We know that Narayan Rishi, and he is the supermost human being. Then Mother Saraswati, a goddess of learning, and Vyasdeva, the author. So, why should we offer respects? When we offer respects, Prabhupada always said that when we offer respects to our spiritual master, that those respects will be carried to Sri Krishna from spiritual master. When we offer, we are indirectly offering to Krishna. So he kind of passes those respects to Krishna. What is conquest? Can anybody say? What is the conquest? What do we need to conquer?
Senses.
Sorry?
Ignorance.
Repeated
Yes.
birth and death.
That's it. That's what it is mentioned. Yes, right. Whoever has said, they're all right. You're all right. And basically, we are perpetually rotating through this birth and death, and we've been there in the material existence for time immemorial. So this is conquering. Conquering means conquering this ignorance, conquering this repeated birth and death, and going back to Godhead. So that is the very means of conquest. Prabhupada also mentioned that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentary on the Brahma Sutras. Vyasdev, after compiling Vedas, he also compiled Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras are just aphorisms. You call them aphorism? Small, like, Atato Brahma Jignasa, Janma Dyasya Yataha, just one little Sanskrit sentence which allows so much meaning. So Prabhupada mentions that this Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary of that Brahma Sutras. So then, after this all completely invocation, then he glorifies. This is wonderful. I always like this verse, beautiful verse. I liked it very much. And before explaining, before answering the sage's questions, he said this: Munayah sadhu prushtoham bhavad birloka mangalam yat kritaha krishna samprashno yenatma suprasiddhati. Couple of wonderful points in this. He said, O sages, Munayaha, sadhu prushtoham, I am justly questioned. Sadhu, justly questioned. He's happy. He's happy with their questions. Why is happy? Reasons were given. And the main reason, first one is Bhavadbir Lokamangalam. The questions are beneficial to whole world. Lokamangalam. So that is the quality of a question. When we ask questions, sometimes it is only beneficial to me. But these sages, when they ask questions, it's Lokamangalam. Whole world will be benefited from these questions. Very auspicious. Why? Because yat kritaha Krishna samprashno. All these questions are related to Sri Krishna. That's why they are Lokamangalam. They are beneficial, auspicious to whole world. And And what else he says? Yenatma suprasiddhati. Just by asking questions that are related to Krishna, one will be satisfied. Prabhupada says in the purport, you can go and read that, we ask so many questions in and day out, but only these sorts of questions, they will satisfy the self. When a question related to Krishna is asked, three varieties of people get purified. The person who asks, and the person who speaks, and the people who listen. Three varieties of people, just like Ganga. Ganga purifies three worlds, upper, middle, and the lower planetary system. Just like that, the questions that are related to Krishna will purify three varieties of people. So yeah, he just glorified the sages, and he congratulated the sages for asking them for such wonderful questions. And then he began to answer. So the first question they asked was, that was in chapter verse 9, in the first chapter, verse 9. Ekantataha Shreyas, Sanskrit was that. What is ultimate good or absolute good for people in general? That's in verse 9. And in the verse 11, they asked, what is the essence of all scriptures?
Yeah.
All scriptures. I'm very glad that you are reading. This will really motivate me to even read more. Thank you so much. So, and then he answers a beautiful. And I was asking, I gave a little lecture, little class a couple of days ago. I asked all the children, if a person comes to you who is expert in every field, and ask a question, what would you ask? And they were telling different things. But they're all good, they're all spiritual, but none of them was like, they are beneficial to them, but not for the whole humankind. Children were telling, how can I go back to Krishna? How can I conquer my senses? Like that. But here, sages, wonderful questions. So let's see the answer for the first and second question is in verse 6. And this is a very famous verse, very, very famous verse. So I'll recite that. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshje ahaitukiya pratiyata yayatma suprasiddhati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Read the next one also. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So the question was, what is ultimate good for people in general, and what is the essence of all scriptures? So for these two questions, the answer is devotional service, pure devotional service unto Lord Sri Krishna. That's what's been explained here. So this famous verse, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo. Dharma, Prabhupada translated translated it as occupation. So the supreme dharma by which men can attain loving devotional service unto Supreme Lord. And how that should be done is mentioned here. Ahaituki apratihata means unmotivated, uninterrupted. And when it is done with that mood, means when we do devotion, our devotion is motivated to a degree and interrupted to a degree, definitely. So, but when it is unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service onto Lord Sri Krishna, and by that process, suprasidati. Prasidati means as fully happy, and suprasidati is kind of what do you call superlative. So extremely happy. And this doesn't depend on bhakti. Just by doing bhakti, you will get everything. So here the next verse says that just by doing bhakti, what are you going to get? Causeless knowledge and also detachment you automatically get. On this, in that regard, I just it just came to my mind that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's guru, what was his name? Jagannath Das, no, not Jagannath Das Babaji.
Gaur Kishore Das.
Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Yes.
Saraswati.
Yes, Saraswati Thakur's guru was Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. It was said that he was illiterate. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a renowned scholar. Yes, he was so expert, but he took initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So bhakti gives causeless knowledge and detachment automatically. There is a little story that again come to my mind, that when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Srirangam, all the Pandits, they gathered and they were reciting Bhagavad Gita every day. And he saw one Brahman, he was not pronouncing properly. His pronunciation was not good, and he was holding book, but he was, he was having tears now and then. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "What's happening?" So, "My Lord, I've been ordered by my spiritual master to read this Bhagavad Gita every day, but I'm not a scholar. I'm just trying to obey the order of my spiritual master, and I'm just reading. I make so many mistakes." But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "Why? Why do you cry sometimes? I see tears coming." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "My Lord, when I read Bhagavad Gita, when I think of Bhagavad Gita, so I just get the picture, in this particular, picture in my mind that, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, so is acting as a charioteer, and Arjun was sitting. So that when I get, when I see that picture in my mind, and then I get just tears in my eyes." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You understood the essence, complete essence of Srimad Bhagavad Gita." And the point was that it was further explained. Essence of all scripture was further explained until verse, let me see, 28. It explains verse 28. So in the next, so this after that, let's see a couple of more verses. Say, okay, bhakti was glorified, and usually people say that what is worship, and they talk that karma yogi, they just wanted to work. So this is another famous verse. Dharma swanishtitaha pumsam vishvaksena katasuha notpadayat yatratim shrama yevai kevalam. So occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction to the message of the personality of Godhead. And the occupational, why one should perform occupational duties, just to not to gain the material profit. So yes, they should not be performed to perform for material gain, and whatever the material gain one gets should not be used for sense gratification. People generally perform occupational duty for material gain, and the material gain is used for the sense gratification. But here it is said, no, it should not be used. Whatever gain one gets, that should be used for simple living and high thinking. Jivasya tattva jignasa. The main thing that should be used, whatever little, whatever we get, we should only use little as much as possible for knowing the truth. Jivasya tattva jignasa means that tattva jignasa, inquiry about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is another famous verse that is often quoted. You can make a note of it, verse 11. It tells the three aspects of the Supreme Lord. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So was described here. So that's why, because bhakti is very, very important. So what do the students do? They render a devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it summarizes here that Atapumbirudvija Shreshta Varnashrama Vibhagashaha Swanushthitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhur Aritoshanam. People do occupational duties, but the perfection is that, the perfection is that to please the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Tasmadekena manasa bhagavan satvatam patihi shrotavyaha kirtitavyacha deha pujasya nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of devotees, of the devotees. So the verses in the second chapter, this current chapter, are very, very famous. They're very nectarian. So you can memorize as many verses as possible. And from 16 onwards, the process of hearing and how we can perfect our life. So,
sorry, Prabhuji, what did you just say?
Yes, process of achieving perfection in Krishna consciousness through the process of hearing. So there is one by one. From here it goes until 22. It's a sequence. I'll just recite. Shushrusho Shredadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatse Vaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. This hearing, how does one develop affinity for hearing? That is given. Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. When one serves the great saints, they automatically develop taste for hearing Krishna Katha. Prabhupada writes nice commentary that the devotees of the Lord should be respected as good as God. And whatever the respect that is given to pure devotee will be passed to Krishna. They are like Punya Tirtha. They are like a holy place. So first thing is, what is the way to gain this affinity for Krishna Katha? Only by serving. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra. So we have to serve Mahat Seva. Mahat Seva is very, very, very important. Mahat Seva means serving great people. Here, we are all there in ISKCON to serve Srila Prabhupada and his spiritual master to best of our abilities. Whatever, whatever our talent may be, we can serve Srila Prabhupada. We can use that talent to serve Srila Prabhupada, whatever it may be. But it is mentioned in the scripture time and time again and again that Mahat Sevaya is very important. Serving great saints is very important. So by serving great saintly people, one gains the affinity for hearing Krishna's message. And then what happens? Shrunvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha vrudyantastoyi abhadrani vidunoti surutsatam. So when we hear this Krishna katha, which is very purifying, itself purifying, but what does Krishna do? Who is sitting in our heart, vidunoti means he cleanses. What does he cleanse? Abhadrani, all inauspiciousness. We know this is wrong. We know some of our thoughts are not right. We know some of our actions are not right. But we are forced to act in such a way. We are forced to think in such a way which we don't like sometimes. I know myself, you know yourself. This is called abhadra. Abhadra, all the inauspiciousness, this is coming from the prarabdha. It's previous lives we have accumulated by our actions. We have accumulated so much of that inauspiciousness in our heart. But what does Krishna do when we hear Krishna Katha? He cleanses. He becomes a cleaner of your heart. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki. And this is the famous verse, you can go and read. So there are two types of Bhagavatas, Person Bhagavata and Book Bhagavata. So Book Bhagavata, we serve by reading and by practicing the instructions given in the Book Bhagavatam. And Person Bhagavata also, we can do the same thing. We can serve personally, or we can take their instructions and follow those instructions. When we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, what happens? Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. All the troublesome that is there in the heart will be destroyed. When that is destroyed, what happens is we will be fixed in devotion. Tata rajastamo bhava kamalobha dayachaye chetaye tairana vidhim stitam satte prasidati. What happens to this process when we hear Krishna Katha, when we hear Bhagavatam, that the passion and ignorance, they will be gone. And then one gets to the platform of Stitam Sattve Prasidati. One comes to mode of goodness. Yevam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. In this particular state, when he comes to this mode of goodness, he gains a positive scientific knowledge about Krishna. And then one will realize that one is a true servant of Sri Krishna. This is the process from verse 16 to 21 and 22 verses. They give a sequence. The process of achieving perfection. Simple process. If I want to say that the summary of those verses is serve great saints, Mahat Sevaya. See, always think, how can I serve great personalities? And especially for us, for our own spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada. Simple. That's the main thing. And second is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are the two things, and the rest of the things will automatically be developed. And these verses, Prabhupada quoted several times. When Prabhupada went to US, he wrote Markine Bhagavad Dharma, a famous song. And in that song also, all these verses you can see. And in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, for the first verse of purport, Prabhupada gives this. So what happens this way? All that is troublesome to heart is pierced. It is explained in different ways. And then you can mention, so far it is clearly mentioned that this bhakti should be performed to Lord Sri Krishna. But sometimes people wonder, there are other demigods and other people. From verse 23 to 28, what is discussed was that again, so it is said that Krishna should be worshipped again. But here it talks a little bit about demigods. So you can see that Krishna takes different forms, like he accepts as Brahma, he accepts Shiva for various reasons, but Lord Vishnu is in charge of Sattvaguna, that is goodness, and by worshipping Krishna, one gets full benefit, not by worshipping any other personality. It doesn't mean that we disrespect them, we respect them. We respect them as a servant of Krishna, but ultimate benefit one will achieve by worshipping Sri Krishna, and that is summarized in the verse 28 and 29, famous verses. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makaha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva param jnanam, Vasudeva parantapa, Vasudeva paro dharmo, Vasudeva paraghati. See how many times the word Vasudeva came here. 8 times Vasudeva came. And param also came almost 8 times. Prabhupada gives slightly different meaning for that para. So Vasudeva is Krishna. Is Paraveda, here it is said, Paraveda means is the ultimate object of knowledge. Paramaka, ultimate object of sacrifice. And through yoga, Krishna, Vasudeva should be known. And the ultimate object of all the work is Sri Krishna. Param Jnanam is the absolute truth. And Parantapa, whatever austerity that we are doing is to please Krishna. Paro Dharmo, whatever occupation that we are doing is also to please Krishna. And Paragati is the ultimate goal of every human being. So, and from verse 30 to 33, Sutta Goswami answers question 4 now. So we talked about question 1, question 2. Question 3, he talks later, but he comes to the question 4 now. Question 4 was asked in 17 of the first chapter. Tell us the acts of the Lord performs in relation to creating the material world. So those that is described from verse 30 to 33. Basically that Lord Krishna, for the creation of material world, he expands himself as Mahavishnu. We know that, and Mahavishnu lies on the ocean of Karana ocean, and so from his skin pores, all the universes come, and then from him comes second expansion. We call them Garbhodaksai Vishnu, and this Garbhodaksai Vishnu enters into each universe, and this universe is empty that time, and with his perspiration he off-fills the universe, and from his navel lake lotus comes out, On top of that lotus, Lord Brahma is there situated, and in that lotus stem there are 14 planetary systems. And from Garbhodak Sai Vishnu, Kshirodak Sai Vishnu comes, who what is his job is he enters into each of the atom of this universe. He also enters into everyone. He enters as a super soul in every living being, but also enters into each and every particle of this material world. That is Kshirodak Sai Vishnu. But these things were also elaborated in the next chapter, third chapter. We can see that later on. And the final question, fourth question, sorry, not final, but then he answers at the end, that is third question, that tell why Krishna appeared. So you can see the answer here. Verse 34 says that basically the answer is to reclaim the conditioned living entities, but in particular those who are in mode of goodness. Thus the Lord of the universe says, maintains all the planets inhabited by demigods, men and lower animals, assuming the roles of incarnation. He performs pastime to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. So that is the main purpose. Why Krishna comes? Krishna comes to attack all of us. Krishna came 5,000 years ago. Now we got this beautiful Bhagavatam. Now we got this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So many wonderful pastimes. We get automatically attracted. And Krishna's main purpose is to reclaim. Appearance is to reclaim these conditioned souls. So that is the end of this chapter. Question 5 and question 6. They are discussed, they are answered at a later chapter. We can discuss this, but the essence of this chapter is simply, if we remember one thing, that first thing is that offering respects to our spiritual masters and predecessors is very, very important in our spiritual life. Very important. Secondly, bhakti is the essence of everything. Devotional service unto Sri Krishna is the essence. Just by performing bhakti, one gets knowledge and as well as the detachment, and ultimately be happy forever. And the best way to practice the devotional service, to progress this devotional service, is to do service to these great saintly peoples. When we do service to these great saintly people, we automatically develop affinity to hear Krishna Katha. Some people are very eager to hear, some are not very eager to hear. But as we do service to great saintly people, we automatically develop urge to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. You all have urge now to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. You've done so much service to saintly people. See, 8 o'clock, everybody's there. Urge, great urge. Rush, you can't stop it, but join.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
can I share something?
Yes, Mataji.
This is about question 5 and question 6. I got something here to read. Can I read something here from my book? Is it okay?
Yeah. How much time you have, Mataji? You want to
Oh,
take?
not very long. Short one. This is about
Okay.
the last question, where the question 6. It says, where have religious principles gone after Lord Krishna's disappearance from this planet?
Yes.
The answer is Srila Sutta Goswami answers this question in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.43 by declaring, this Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun and is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his abode, accompanied by religion and knowledge, etc.
Yes.
Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness or ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. That's the end.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So yes, that is the last verse of the 3rd chapter. So thank you for bringing that. We all there are so many people, they lost their vision, but
Yes.
they can regain their vision by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we go to 3rd chapter, when we discuss, we will answer those questions as well. So because it is in the third chapter, I left it there. But just to finish my summary, that so serving great saintly people is very important, and then that's where we develop urge to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna in our heart, he cleanses all dirty things, all our addictions. We are forced to act in several ways. But don't worry about it. Just hear. The medicine is hearing. Prabhupada calls it panacea. Panacea means cure for all. Srimad Bhagavatam is panacea, cure for all. So then by hearing, all the inauspicious things, unwanted things, they disappear. And then what else? Passion and ignorance is destroyed. And then we becomes to Sattva-guna, goodness. And then we fixed in devotion. We fixed in devotion. So hearing is very key. That is the message that I wanted to mention. And then ultimate object of everything is Sri Krishna from all the Vedic knowledge. So sorry, that was like running like a PT. So any questions or comments? I know that I'm still trying to improve how best I can do this session, and please forgive me if I'm not meeting your expectations. But this is the best I can do. But I'm happy to take any feedback. I really don't want to go over an hour because devotees have different engagements really, and I really want to stick to that 1 hour so that they can commit. If I started going over 1 hour, they people think this person is going to take so much and like that. So we don't have much time. I'm going to stick to that 1 hour. So I humbly request all the devotees, go and open the book Srimad Bhagavatam, read, please read, please make some notes. It's always good to make some notes while reading.
Yeah.
It does help. It does help.
Yes, it does. That's true. Yeah.
So I'll stop there, and thank you everyone. Any comments or any questions, please, please let me know.
Prabhuji, just one thing. This is my first class.
Yes.
And the shlokas that you recited for before reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, where can I find that?
So,
one of them was here, which you read from one of the verses. I can't remember what number verse that was.
yeah,
Paying your obeisances to, yes.
Yes, that is verse 4, Mataji. Verse 4 and verse 18 from this chapter.
4 and 18. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And also, just for your information, the verses that are mostly cited by Srila Prabhupada, and I'm asking my son Sumed to recite, and I'm uploading them onto YouTube. So you can go and, have a look at them if you would like to learn. It's good to learn some of Sanskrit verses, at least a few of them, please.
Yes.
If anybody needs any assistance, I'm happy to assist you.
Yes, Prabhuji, we'll trouble you for that. Sorry.
Not a problem. Sorry, it's a bit, rush, but this is the way it is, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
I think you did very well, Prabhu. I like your presentation.
You're doing, yes, absolutely. You're doing very well, Prabhu.
Excellent. You did very well, Prabhu. That's good. I like your presentation.
Again, I mentioned that this is not a deep study, but you can do that at your home. I'm just giving that,
You're giving us the guidelines and the insight, so that's good, Prabhu. That's
trying
what we
to
need.
increase your appetite.
Yes.
So thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Haribol.
Excellent class, Prabhu. Haribol.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Prabhu, the YouTube one you said about when will be able to have a look at it? When is it already done or is on the process?
Yes, first chapter is already done.
Oh, I see.
First chapter is already done, and so you are not in this group, but Meenakshi Mataji is there, so she can forward the link to you, or I can add to you that group. Every chapter, once we finish the chapter, we are uploading the shlokas onto YouTube.
Oh, fantastic. Good. Thank you.
And also the entire session is on SoundCloud, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, from this today onwards, I will put them on YouTube
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these sessions will be available on YouTube.
So we'll have a SoundCloud recording also to post in the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, super.
Hare Krishna.
Kamlangi Mataji and I will be kind of doing a reading, and if anybody wants to join up, we'll text, and then for next week we're going to read chapter 3.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that, and also we can go discuss other things for anybody who wants to join.
Sure, definitely, that would be nice. Yeah, more the merrier,
Thank you,
isn't it?
Mataji.
Thank you,
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Pranam Mataji, Prabhuji.
Dhanush Mataji, and
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.